Trade talks continue this week as the U.S. and China work through sticking points. The president expressing optimism, saying he hopes to reach an agreement within the next 4 weeks. Joining us now from Washington is Jessica Smith. Jessica, we talked earlier about this divide that we're seeing between the president and his chief negotiator, Robert Lighthizer. What are you hearing on the ground there in terms of a timeline for this deal?
Well, the president said that we could know if there's going to be a deal in the next 4 weeks. He says it could take another 2 weeks after that to put it on paper. But he says his meeting with the Chinese vice premier was a success. He says talks are going very well. He told reporters this morning he could not predict a deal, but he said it would be the granddaddy of all deals, is what he's been calling it, if and when this deal gets done. He told reporters yesterday that there are some sticking points that remain. Those sticking points, he says, are IP theft. He says enforcement and what to do about those tariffs. As you mentioned, Bob Lighthizer was a little more cautious, saying that major issues remain, but the two sides have made headway.
And Jess, in the midst of the negotiations, a new survey showing that CEOs in the U.S. and China are cautiously optimistic about their businesses.
Right. This was an interesting survey from the U.S.-China Business Council that just came out today, and they surveyed 20 U.S. CEOs and 35 Chinese CEOs, and what they found is that more than 75% of the executives expect at least a partial agreement from the trade talks. Only 4% of the CEOs thought there would not be a deal, and more than half of them said the trade war has not impacted their ability to do business with their U.S. or Chinese counterparts, but far more Chinese CEOs reported problems than American executives. And nearly a third of the CEOs say trade tensions have negatively impacted their brands. And most companies say they will either maintain or accelerate their business in the opposite country over the next year. And then finally, one more really interesting stat that I saw is 100% of American CEOs said the Chinese market will be a priority for them over the next 5 years. But only half of Chinese CEOs said that the U.S. would be a priority. So kind of a big difference there as you look at that particular question. And then the executives just said they're concerned that this trade deal won't address all of their concerns and tensions could remain rocky going forward.